Hi, I'm Marty Moore, and on today's episode of the Primetimers, our leftover gourmet, George Mills, will be preparing a dish that's quick, easy, tasty, and delicious. Let's see what George has in store for us.
Hi, welcome once again to the kitchen of the Leftover Gourmet. I'm George Mills, and I'll be showing you how to make salmon patties today with a twist. Salmon Patties Panko. And what it does is put a nice little crust on an otherwise mundane lunchtime break or even a dinner break. So let's get on with it. Take a look. Here's our salmon right out of the can. I've already opened one up. We're going to take the salmon. We're going to put it in here. That's the tough part. Now we're going to mush it up a little bit. You want it nice and neat. And we're going to crunch it up, loosen it up. I like to add a spoonful of mustard. I like to add mustard and sometimes a little bit of onion, but you don't have to add that. One thing about it is you don't want to take too much of the taste away from the original salmon. You want to taste salmon, you want to taste salmon. You don't want to taste filler. So if you don't put too much mustard in it, that's a good thing because it kind of gives it a little snap. Here we go, that's about right. It also kind of helps serve as a binder. Now, I don't have to tell you folks how to cook. You've been cooking for a lot longer than I have, years, and you've been a lot better at it. What I'm trying to do is just kind of show you a little variation on a theme. I know sometimes we kind of get in a rut and we're going to get stuck there, and what I'm trying to do is show you that there's some easy, not too time-consuming ways to get out of that rut and do things a little bit differently now and then, just to break off the boredom. Okay? By the way, I have a little trivia for you that I thought I'd inject right now. I'm working on a counter. You ever think about where a counter got its name? It came from where people counted, where bean counters counted their beans to calibrate their scales to sell their merchandise on the cheap. You know what cheap used to mean? Merchandise. So if you got something on the cheap, you got merchandise. That was the old name for it. I haven't quite figured out yet what a cheapskate is, whether it's someone who hawks merchandise or whether it's somebody who hoards it. Who knows? But anyway, that's a little bit of trivia I thought I'd throw at you in the middle of all this. Okay, we've got that. Now let's add something else. I had suggested to me just before we came on the show that we might want to put in a little bit of egg in here. Well, that's not a bad idea because that too can add a little bit of binding to the salmon mixture here. So we just put a little bit in there, not a lot. Now, what's this stuff here? Well, that too is egg, only it's egg beaters. I use egg beaters because, well, it's just going to be going on to coat it a little bit to give the panko something to grip to. That's about all. And you have to be real careful. This kind of gets mushy and it tends to want to fall apart. So you may see some exciting stuff here called cleaning up the kitchen. Give me a second and we'll be ready to go. All right. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to zip over and turn up the heat on the stove very quickly. I'll be right back. Thank you. All right. Now we're ready. Notice I didn't add a lot of seasoning. You could add a little pepper if you want, maybe salt, I don't know. But, like I say, you want the salmon flavor. You don't want the flavor of the filler. Okay, so far so good. It's holding together. Now, this is the tough part. Roll it in there. Yes, hands are a must. I couldn't possibly fathom doing this. So far, this seems to be my best effort ever. Okay, here we go. We're going to do a few of these. You probably would get maybe 4 or 5 of these little patties. And that'd be enough for you and your friend. She comes over, he comes over for lunch. That's about it. That'll do it. Patty. Now, this mixture of panko is really great. We use it for covering on casserole dishes. Add a little olive oil. You may want to add Parmesan cheese. Now, I didn't add Parmesan cheese to this because, again, the idea here is to taste the salmon, not all the filler and stuff. So, and we just want to give it a little crunch with this panko. That's the whole purpose. And panko is good for crunch. By the way, I don't know if I showed you the box or not. It's in the baking section. Panko breadcrumbs. Very, very good. Okay, a couple more here, and then we'll get on with it. We'll get over to the stove, and we'll see what happens to these babies. Now, see, this one's trying to slip away from me. You have to kind of work smoothly and quickly before it gets saturated with the egg and then becomes mush. One more, and I'm going to call it quits. All right, and we're going to cook. Okay. Now, I cannot imagine doing this without getting your hands into the stuff. So if you're one of those people who don't like to have hands in your food, this is not for you. Okay. Quick, brief rinse. Little wipe on the towel. In my house, towels have to face out, or it's bad news. There we go. Over here, okay. We've got the 5 patties of salmon with the panko. We've put about 3 or 4 tablespoons full of canola oil. You can use peanut oil, you can use olive oil, whatever floats your boat. Now, I've got a little more oil in here than I would have if I were to saute, and that's to help brown it up around the sides. Now, you have to be very, very careful. I have this touched up from medium, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Everybody's stove has their own personality, so just be careful. About 3 is what we can get in here at a time for this one. Well, let's try for, you don't want too many in there because it'll crowd each other and you won't be able to retrieve it. But I'm going to live dangerously for this moment. That's it. Okay. Now we cook. And you kind of got to keep an eye on things. You can't really walk away from it. I like to do on mine, because my pan has a little bow in the bottom of it, I like to turn these around if I'm able. All right. You may not have to do this if you have a nice frying pan that's flat and even heat, but we do. Okay. There we go. Nice golden brown for that one. By the way, these will be available for our studio audience after the show. Give it a sample. And if any of your viewers have any ideas that we can feature on this show, by all means, let us know, won't you please? Oh, don't they look pretty? How about that? I'm going to add a touch more oil. You want to have that oil hot when you put it in, otherwise I think it makes them soggier if you don't. We're just about done here. We have a frying pan cooperation that we had the first time. By the way, you don't have to put onions in it either, even though I did. That's about it. Let it brown up. Then you'll notice that I've got paper towels on the plate that help take some of that excess oil off of there. Help keep the heart smart police off your back. That's about it. A little more. Okay. While we're waiting for this to be done, I want to tell you about cabinets. Do you ever wonder how this thing got the name of a cabinet? Cabin, we can figure out, means a small shanty or something like that. Et, of course, from the French, a small shanty. But how did it come to mean this? Well, people started using the term for anything that enclosed things made of wood, and it got smaller. In fact, people started making little valises or briefcases out of wood, which they call cabinets. So they took these cabinets, and it caught on with the diplomatic corps and the bureaucracy. So they started carrying them to work. And of course, the bureaucrats carried them to work. Everybody had nice little cabinets. And after a while, it caught on that the place where they took them became referred to as a cabinet. So therefore, you have the ministers carrying their cabinets to the cabinet. And that's why we have the president's cabinet, because of the little cabinet. But what about ministers? Well, mini means small. Attention to small details. Stir means a doer of small things, carrying out detail. We hear the word in one thing that comes to mind, prankster and barrister. So you can see that he does the bar. Okay, I think these are done. I just have to remember to tell that story each time I cook this, and it'll come out perfect, huh? Okay, that's about it. Now, I'm putting it on here in hopes that it'll soak up some of the heat. Now, I have a problem of remembering to turn things off. So if you have somebody else that shares the kitchen with you, have them help you out once in a while. Take a look, folks. That's it. That is your panko-coated salmon patties, a lunch for today. This has been George Mills, your leftover gourmet, bidding you a very pleasant good day. Thank you.